Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us for our second video in our series for the Summer Bucket List Junk Journal. I'm super excited about it. I appreciate you guys coming back for our second video. This video, we will be learning how I put together a junk journal using chipboard and printed fabric. I did use the Kelly Bangs Creative Scouts Honor. I did make mention of all of these things that I would be using in the first video. You can always go back and check that out because, then I give you all the things that I'll be using. This is my favorite glue, and I'm just going to put it all over the entire piece of chipboard that I've pre-cut to size. I will put those measurements in the comments below if you're interested. You can check that out after the video. I like to put a lot of glue here because I want that fabric to stick. And this Cocatina, I don't know how you say the name, but it's in the last video. It's my favorite glue for this part of the process, okay? That's all I'm gonna say about it. I like to press it down really good, make sure that it's adhered really well. Sometimes some of the glue is kind of gobbly and gunks up a little bit and comes through, but it dries clear, so never fear. It will not stay that way forever. I promise, promise, promise. I flip it over and press it some more just to make sure, like I said, I want it to be stuck really well. Now we are going to be doing the other side of the same piece of chipboard. Again, all the glue as much as you can get. And then you will be adding the other sheet of fabric paper, printable fabric, whatever you want to call it. And then I will just trim off the edges and do the other sides. And I will see, it peels apart when you put the fabric paper through. It comes with the flat sheet to help it go through your printer. It just peels right off. It's super easy. Once you get the edge done, it just comes right off. There's no struggle at all, really. It's so simple. Trust me, using this fabric, printable fabric, it's a dream, and it prints amazingly. I love it so much. I don't know if you noticed there I had a little wrinkle. I just ripped it right back up and pushed it back down and flattened it out. And that's what's the glory of this glue, is it has plenty of time for you to rearrange and move around if you don't like where it's at. So, excuse me. So now we're just going to go ahead and do the other side the same way we did the front. When you're all finished smoothing it all out, I like to take my fabric scissors, because we are working with fabric. I know it's like you put it through your printer and it's like paper, but it is not paper. It is fabric. So you can use your fabric scissors. And then I'm just going to trim off the edges. I really like a torn look most of the time, but this is just easier to do it this way. One thing that I want to mention in this part of the process is that depending on your paper or the fabric, the design you chose, there could be, the orientation of the paper. You may have to have it a certain way to get the image proper. So that matte paper had to be printed up and down like that. So just make sure when you're gluing it on that your paper is the direction you need it to be, because that's really, really, really important. Another way you could do this is to take a rotary wheel and just zoop right up, and that would be super simple. If you don't know what a rotary wheel is, we can talk about that at another time, because scissors are just as easy. I just wanted to give some of you that may know or have one that option. It's super quick. Make sure that you use a metal ruler if you're using the rotary wheel, because that will keep you from cutting your book. You will do the same thing to the front, because that's the back. You're just going to do the same thing. You're just going to cut all around all of the edges and make sure that you don't cut the chipboard, which is pretty easy because the chipboard's pretty hard. And it cuts really, really well, as you can see. So once you get that all finished, we will work on our spine. Once you have all that finished, I cleaned up all my scraps, and I wanted to make sure that they were even and that they fit together right, and that I had all of my material the way I wanted it. And then I just trimmed off a couple of the little pieces that I didn't like, or that you know how it is. Sometimes you're just a perfectionist and you have to do those things. So when I'm all done with that, I'm going to grab my spine, which again, I will have all those measurements and the material that I want. And I just kind of measured it just slightly a little bit, make sure it's all gonna work. I'm gonna cut this sheet in approximately half lengthwise. You can tell as I start cutting that it's not exactly half, and that's okay. It's not a big deal. One's gonna go on the outside, one's gonna go on the inside, and it's not even gonna be, nobody's gonna notice. And you can see here, I said it was so easy to take the paper off of the fabric. Well, I struggle because, of course, I said how easy it was. So of course I would struggle just a little bit for you guys. This one is really bad. I don't know why. It was so hard to get it off, but it was probably because I was videoing and a little nervous and whatever. But I do eventually get it off, I promise. Stick with me here. It's going to happen, I promise. I was going to speed up this video and I decided not to so that you could really see what was happening. So now I'm going to take the chipboard and just like we did the fronts and the back, I'm going to cover it with glue. I want to make sure that it all lines up here and about where I want it. You're going to want about, like a chipboard size space between the 3 pieces of chipboard. So if you have, I just eyeballed it here and I'm just putting glue on all of the sides, not completely on the front cover and the back cover, just a little sliver of it, because I'm not going to put fabric over the whole entire thing. I'm just going to do that one little slice there. So you don't need glue all over the whole thing. That being said, I trimmed off the edges because I didn't want the white. And then like I said, I really like the torn look. So sorry you see my head there. I was struggling, I guess. Sorry about that. Anyways, so back to the chipboard and the spacing. If you can't eyeball it, then just grab an extra piece, your spare pieces, your junk pieces of chipboard, and set it in there to get your spacing before you lay down that piece of fabric. That's my advice for you. Again, pay attention to your image, that you have it facing the correct direction, because obviously this is the heart paper and it's only one direction. It can't be all the directions. So just make sure all your hearts are facing the right direction, because that's important. When you're all done with that, you're just gonna flip it right on over. Flip it over. I like to make sure everything is very glued and very secured. It helps if you can wait just a little bit and let it dry. It's always easy. If it starts to peel or come up again, you just grab the glue and slap some more back down on it. I have several journals that I've made, over a year ago, and they are sturdy and have held together great. I'm stretching out the fabric so that the part that I tore isn't all, shrunk up like that. So see how I'm kind of pressing it again, making sure that it's firm. Don't move it all crazy and, unglue it. But then now you're just going to see how I just repositioned that. That's how forgiving this glue is, you guys. It's amazing. I will put the link in the comments below, in the description below. Sorry, you can leave a comment if you want. But I will leave the link below, and because you can get it on Amazon. It's pricey, but it's worth it. And this is usually the only time I use this glue, is when I'm making a journal. So it's worth it for me to pay that little extra for the ease of this glue. I love it. You could try the Fabrifix, but if your fabric is white or light, this fabric, it will not work on the printed fabric. It shows through. You can see the glue. So I do not suggest using Fabrifix. There are lots of other glues that you can use, but don't use Fabrifix. I would use this or another type of stick glue. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the same thing on the back. Actually, that's the front and the back. So this is the outside. That's what I should be saying. The outside, right? Because this is the outside of the book. The other side was the inside. And you can tell they're not the same width. And remember, I had mentioned that I didn't cut the paper quite in half. So this is what it looks like when it's all done. Notice how that one little piece right there did come up. Well, that's because I didn't let it dry long enough. So when that's all done, we are going to be adding, I did decorate it in between there, and I didn't show you guys that because everybody has a different way of decorating, but I will be showing you in the inserts how I'm decorating. So anyway, so now I'm just going to measure how far apart and how deep in I want my eyelets. So I have the eyelet setter. I have my eyelets all set out. You're going to need 4. I used 4. You can use only 2 if you want. You know, it's totally a personal preference. I wanted 2 strings and not just 1, so I went with the 4. So I like to do them about, I'm trying to think now what it was when I did it, and I just did it yesterday, so I wished I would have done this today so that I could tell you exactly. I want to say it was right at a 1/4 in from either side. So that's what I believe it was. I'll put that down in the description below too. I just mark it with a little pen because it's super easy. You don't have to worry so much about the going in if you have the crocodile tool. If you do not have it, that's when you need to measure a 1/2 inch in, is what I went in, was a 1/2 inch. But on the the crocodile, it has the measure already right there for you. So you just set whatever measurement you want right there on the, I don't even know what that's called, but you can just set it right there on the hole punch. And there are 2 sides to the crocodile, the big side and the little side. You want the big side. My eyelets, you're going to see I struggled just a little bit because they're a little bit bigger than the hole that I made. But also remember, you want it to be in there good and tight. You don't want it to fall out. So it's okay that I struggled a little bit. I got them in there. It did not diminish the book at all. Also, because the fabric's already on there, it causes my hole to be a little wonky. So it's okay. Just stick them in there, push them in there, work until you get it through. It will go through. If it doesn't, and your hole is just way too tiny, then possibly you might need to get a bigger hole punch. But the crocodile works great. And just when you are closing your eyelet, just make sure to squish it really good. I had to squish mine twice because of the size of the eyelets. So you're going to hear them, or you're going to see I'm going to struggle just a little bit here trying to get it in. I actually turned the book over and put it through the other side. It seemed to go through that side a little bit easier. And then when I went back to that front outside cover, it went right through. It was so much better then. So I am just going to struggle for a minute. Bear with me. And then we will put the string through. Whew, that was rough to watch. I'm not even kidding. I apologize. I probably should have sped through that, but I didn't. I hope you're still with me to put our string together. Measuring the string is super easy. I do 3 lengths of the spine, and then I cut it right off. And then you're just gonna, almost like sewing, you're just gonna go in, out together. Okay, it's super easy. Don't get frightened. So I went through the inside to the outside, back to the inside, and then through the inside to the outside, and then back to the inside. I hope that you followed that. It was a little rough to say. And now I'm just going to tie them together. I just use the regular, normal crossover, tie it. I wanted it to be a little bit looser, so I went ahead and I took it out and redid it. And then I just did a big old tie, and then it was done. And now I can put in 2 inserts. So if you're following along with the series, that will be our next video. Next week, we will be putting together an insert to put in this amazing junk journal. I'm so excited. I hope that you are enjoying this process as much as I am. Of course, like this video, subscribe to the channel, give me all the comments that you want. I will answer any question you have. If it's more of a private question that you don't want to ask on the YouTubes, then head on over to the iGrams, and I am Chipped at Time there as well. And you can private message me, DM me, whatever it's called. I don't know. I'm not all about that anymore. But yes, I will gladly answer any and all of your questions. Then just trim off your ends if you want, but don't go too close to the knot because you don't want it to come undone. Thanks everybody for joining me. I hope that you had fun. I can't wait to see your journals. Be sure to use the hashtag Junk Journal Summer Series. Thanks for joining us, friends. I can't wait to see your junk journals, and we'll see you next week to do our inserts.